nhưng rong thấy rong nè chỉ cái tên ra thì trong phong yêu sẽ là đợt nào cũng bỏ đi vào nhà họ mong transit news rong share vào tàu lần trên này trong nung nào cũng cho biết một xe cái chat tờ là giờ thiệt lòn đời Minnesota Poison Center giờ khơi theo mending giờ đã có tổ thiệt cho thì nhưng trong cái lúc vào lúc trẻ giờ tổ chức cũng nhiều là có yêuเลยจ้าแล้วgiờเขาก็lúc trẻ giờ thì mua gas จืดแล้วก็อยู่เลยจะที่ปากตัวก็ยังจะซ่อมของตัวกูมาดักกันจริงในดัว中线到达到人机多中年级个的人家庭中朋友做都做路线了，弄那个也考所是正经我也开了被人年级朋友通不了中的路得去美利加了，เขาที่อีอย่างเดียวก็รู้เจกูเหี้ยเลยอยู่อย่างที่ปาตัวก็เขาที่อ้ออย่างเดียวก็มัวแก่จืดอย่างเราก็รู้เจเลยนั่นเองอยู่อุลิจาโอเคเดี๋ยวเราไปกูมัวตัวขวาชื่อเสียงตัวที่อีอย่างไม่ดีตัวที่อ้อยาเครื่องก็ใช้เจนเดอร์ Minnesota Poison Center ตัวที่เราไปจันเนี่ยจีมุ่งเสด็จป้องกับไปจังฟ้าที่ไปเดี๋ยวเกิดที่ถ่ายไประหว่างรู้เจก็ไปเสด็จที่สังเกตนักการยังรองสื่อลีอีอย่างเขาก็ระหว่างรู้เจก็อยู่จุดมัวรู้ smoke detector ตัวที่เจกู้เหี้ยรู้เดี๋ยวอยู่จุดหัวอีกที่ที่ป้องเขียย้อนจงหาเดียจุดชัวรู้ลีอีรู้ลีที่ก็อยู่จุดมุ่งเช็คอีรอย่าหาเดียก็รู้ไม่ต้องเล่นตาเลยอย่าต้องจะขันจงจ้วรู้ไม่ต้องเล่นเช็ดที่ยอดแต่ต้องแก้จืดแล้วก็รู้เจเลยก็ป้องหาแต่แก้จืดเลยอยู่จุดตัวจ่อก็จ่อป้อนเนี่ยมีหนัวมีตู้มีหนัวอะไรอย่างเนี้ยที่สีเจนึงอยู่จุดตัวไตเขียที่จะขันจงหูจ่ออีตัวป้าเนี่ยที่อยู่ป้าตัวจนเนี่ยอยู่ขนาดตอนนี้กูจะไปมุ่งใช้เกให้รู้เลยจะกินชัดแต่ละหนึ่งก็ที่จุดต่างๆอยู่ให้อรู้อเมริกาซึ่งอีกคนจึงเชื่อตัวแต่ไปจันเนี่ยจีมงย่าเดี๋ยวรู้ได้เชื่ออเมริกาเราเป็นดาวเชื่อได้ยังแก่เชื่อรู้อเมริกาจงหังละ
Good morning. My name is Kirk Hughes. I'm one of the educators from the Minnesota Regional Poison Center. And I'll let Mandy introduce herself and what we're going to be talking about today.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Mandy Slegg, and I'm another educator from the Minnesota Regional Poison Center. Today we're going to be talking about carbon monoxide safety, what carbon monoxide is, what are the symptoms of carbon monoxide poisoning, and how to prevent carbon monoxide poisoning. So what is carbon monoxide? It's a colorless, odorless, tasteless gas and can be poisonous to humans and animals. So they call it the silent killer. Carbon monoxide is produced whenever a fuel such as a gas, oil, kerosene, or wood is burned without enough oxygen to create carbon dioxide. Some symptoms of carbon monoxide can actually be mistaken or even ignored for other things such as the flu or another illness. That's why sometimes it's hard to figure out that you have carbon monoxide poisoning. Carbon monoxide poisoning can happen to anyone, and everyone is at risk for carbon monoxide poisoning. However, infants, the elderly, and people with chronic conditions such as heart disease or asthma may be at higher risk and may get sicker from carbon monoxide. Some common sources of carbon monoxide are water heaters, natural gas ovens, lanterns, gas grills, generators, fireplaces, cars, and even boats. Kirk, is there anything else you'd like to add?
I think one of the number one sources, and I'm a retired firefighter, spent 27 years in the fire service, retired a couple of years ago. So I went on these calls from the fire perspective to monitor CO levels. And the number one appliance in the house that causes problems, especially in the fall, is our furnace. So I can tell you that my mother-in-law called me 2 weeks ago, and her furnace is 14 years old. She had an annual check done, just, like $50-$60 to make sure everything is going right. And her furnace was not burning the fuel, in her case natural gas, very well anymore, and it was causing carbon monoxide levels in the house that could have been dangerous. So they had to turn off her furnace and she had to get it replaced. So had she not picked that up and gotten that annual inspection, she might have gotten actually sick or had some serious problems if that continued. So just remember, your furnace is the number one thing that probably produces in your home, especially in the fall. So we're going to talk about some symptoms of carbon monoxide poisoning. So we say it's odorless, colorless, and tasteless, so we don't know that it's there. That's why we need a detector to let us know if it's present in high enough levels to cause problems. The first things you're going to see in low levels of carbon monoxide poisoning is you're going to get a headache. Your head's going to hurt, and it's going to feel like that your head is being pressed by a hat that you're wearing too tight, or like your head's in a vice. It's a specific type of headache. Then you might get nauseated and feel like your tummy's kind of like unsettled and maybe vomit, and you can get a little bit drowsy and sleepy. So those are the three things we see early on. If the carbon monoxide levels get higher, then you can start seeing things like vomiting, people getting confused, like repeating words. They forget about stuff. They don't know why they're home. They're just confused as the levels get higher. And then they can have loss of consciousness where they can actually pass out. Obviously, if you see anybody who's confused or is passed out, you need to hang up or you need to call 911 immediately and go ahead and get medical attention for that person. If it's super high and they're passed out, it can actually cause brain damage over a long period of time, and severe illness and even death. So when you breathe in carbon monoxide, it makes it harder for your body to use the oxygen that you normally breathe. So those are just kind of the symptoms. But remember, we talked about earlier, Mandy said it could mimic the flu. So the flu, you get nausea, vomiting, headache, maybe you're tired, but it could be carbon monoxide poisoning. So this is how getting a detector, which Mandy will talk about in a minute, will go ahead and help let you know that it's there and then make sure that your house is safe. So Mandy, how can we prevent CO poisoning?
Great question, Kirk. I'll tell you. You never want to leave a running vehicle in an enclosed space such as a garage, even if the door is open. You don't want to linger behind a boat, by the motor, because the exhaust could cause a buildup of carbon monoxide poisoning in the area. And you only want to use portable fuel burning equipment outside. You never want to use a generator inside your house, your trailer, your garage, or even a tent. You want to keep generators 20 feet from windows, doors, or vents while in use. And you don't ever want to use a gas oven to heat your house. You want to make sure and have your furnace, water heater, and any gas-powered appliances that you have in your house inspected each year. And you want to make sure to have your fireplace, chimney, and flue cleaned every year, because there could be some obstructions that build up, causing CO to be a source in your fireplace. Kirk, do you want to talk a little bit about CO detectors now?
Sure. I just had a little more to add about the chimneys. If you have a real wood-burning fireplace in your home and you don't get it cleaned annually or however long it's supposed to be, every couple of years, it can build up this stuff inside, this kind of tarry stuff, and it can go ahead and back into the house. So it's really important to also, in addition to getting your furnace serviced every year, is to make sure that your chimney is checked and cleaned appropriately. So what are some laws? Are there laws in Minnesota about having carbon monoxide detectors? There absolutely are. Basically what the law states is that every home has to have a carbon monoxide detector of some sort within 10 feet of every sleeping area. All right? And that, now, it is Minnesota law, but it's not like they're going to come to your house and say, I need to look at make sure that you've got carbon monoxide detectors. You're not going to get in trouble if you don't have them, but it's more to help with prevent needless deaths or needless people getting sick, and just to make sure that everybody's safe. The other thing is, you have to look at when there's some dates on the carbon monoxide detector. This one says it was basically made in November 30th of 2022. Okay, so this detector is 2 years old, almost exactly, which is fine. And you want to go ahead and replace your detectors, because after a period of time, they don't work as well, and they may go off when there's no carbon monoxide, or they may not go off if there is, because the electronics are old. So this one says, if you look here, right here, this the battery will go ahead or the detector is good for 10 years on this particular one. It'll tell you I'm back. So in 2032 of November, you should go ahead and change this detector. It may be perfectly good, but the electronics wear out. So that's what we want to make sure that we do. Also, if you have a boat with a cabin on it, an enclosed part in your boat, it is also law to go ahead and have a carbon monoxide detector inside that cabin, because There was a young girl that died some years ago because they had a carbon monoxide leak in their boat and she was sleeping in the cabin and the leak went in there and she never woke up again. So that's a newer law too. So I think I'll turn it over to Mandy here and she can discuss the different types of carbon monoxide detectors are. So Mandy?
Yeah, sure. So the different types of carbon monoxide detectors that we have are ones like this that can hang on the wall, and they have a battery that's already in it. You have the carbon monoxide detectors that are the plug-in ones that Kirk has right here, and it actually has a little dash that has a digital readout, and it usually says 0 when it's plugged in. And there are also the ones that have batteries, whether it be AA or AAA. And it's important also to test those carbon monoxide detectors every month and make sure and replace your batteries when you change your clocks. So a good time is when you're turning your clocks back or springing them ahead.
So you heard that beeping. That was making sure that the battery was good. You can press it just like your smoke detectors and make sure that it's still good just by pressing that button. You'll get the chirps. This one in particular, it plugs in, but if you lose power, then the batteries kick in. All right, so hopefully if you lose power, this is still going to be good for a certain period of time. But as Mandy said, when we change our clocks, change your smoke detector batteries and test these every month. All right. The other thing is I get questions about is where do we put them? Do we put them up high like smoke detectors or do we put them low? And the answer is that carbon monoxide mixes. It doesn't really rise or sink, so you can put them high or low wherever it's convenient for you. This type, a lot of them will go on the ceiling, which is fine. This type, you plug it in, which is usually low, so it doesn't matter if it's high or low like smoke detectors. You can place carbon monoxide detectors anywhere. There are some detectors that do smoke and carbon monoxide. You probably want to place those higher. So I think that's pretty much everything that we need to cover. Anything else you want to fill us in on?
Yeah, I want to just remind everyone, when your carbon monoxide alarm goes off, trust it, don't ignore it. Grab your pets and small children, get outside to fresh air, and then call for help, either by dialing 911 or you can call your fire department. If you think you are experiencing symptoms of carbon monoxide poisoning, you can always call us at Poison Help, 1-800-222-1222. And again, that number is 1-800-222-1222.
And don't be afraid to call the fire department in 911. I know some people don't want sirens and they don't want attention to their home, but it's very important. The fire department has better detectors than this. They're more sensitive. And they can tell you where it's coming from and if it's safe for you to continue to be in your home. And they can blow out the carbon monoxide too. So they can evaluate all that stuff. And like I said, don't be scared to call 911. It's their job to do that. I went on plenty of calls where they said there's carbon monoxide in the house or the detector was going off. And we would check for them and make sure everything was safe and okay. So thanks so much for having us today. Really appreciate it. And if there's questions, you can call the number that Mandy just said. 800-222-1222, any time of the day or night. It's confidential. Nobody's going to get you in trouble. We just want to help people out, and it doesn't have to be an emergency to call. Thank you.
Thank you.
我撞到了重点几个的那家庭中朋友错多的到山蒙城心里弄考少时，老早这里那了。cái kia nó theo file nó lụt bây giờ này cho gì nhau nó tao vào tao chếวันnày bỏ lại video nó kia cho thì rồi tiếng file thì chẳng nhau nóอยู่lúc vào lúc chế thôi chế cú nhiên theo tổng bằng gas trừ rồi lúc chế là rồi cho theo bao taoอยู่trừ đi cho lùa gửi tiếp tao thả tao nó là giờ thế này mua luôn nổ đã chế là giờ thế này sao bao còn nó có rong cha này huru tụ sao đông nó đồ khác nó thế này giờ này sao có tao tụ mông chạy rồi này là này khi rồi là mới tụ mông chạy rồi này theo cũng chẳng biết đâu thì thôi nên bỏ lại video nó là tháp bát share lại video theo cả biết số lần cho tụ share được bỏ, 我撞到rồi nên tụ share lại video nó